The Secrets of Isis is a television series from Filmation Studios that aired on the CBS network from 1975 to 1977 as part of the Shazam ISIS Hour. This weekly television series predates the Linda Carter Wonder Woman series by about 3 months, making Isis the first superhero leading lady on a weekly American television series.
You know my every move, don't you? You know, you should have been a detective.
No, thank you. I prefer to teach chemistry.
The Secrets of Isis star the lovely Joanna Cameron as high school science teacher Andrea Thomas. On an archaeological expedition in Egypt, Thomas came across an artifact that belonged to Queen Hatshepsut. The artifact, when worn as a mystical amulet, would grant the user the powers of the mighty Isis. This origin is recounted every week within the opening credits of the show.
"O my queen," said the royal sorcerer to Hatshepsut, "with this amulet, you and your descendants are endowed by the goddess Isis with the powers of the animals and the elements. You will soar as the falcon soars, run with the speed of gazelles, and command the elements of sky and earth." 3,000 years later, a young science teacher dug up this lost treasure and found she was heir to the secrets of Isis. And so, unknown to even her closest friends, Rick Mason and Cindy Lee, she became a dual person. Andrea Thomas, teacher.
Almighty Isis.
And Isis, dedicated foe of evil, defender of the weak, champion of truth and justice.
While The Secrets of Isis is indeed an original creation of Filmation Studios, she plays a large enough role in certain DC Comics series, specifically the weekly series 52, that I feel she warrants inclusion on this series. Isis's first comic book appearance was inside the pages of Shazam issue number 25 in the year 1976. Isis would quickly receive her very own comic book series from DC, which premiered a month after her introduction in the pages of Shazam. In the editorial of the first issue, E. Nelson Bridwell even strongly suggested that the royal sorcerer to Queen Hatshepsut, who later created the magical amulet of Isis, could be none other than the old wizard Shazam himself. This was later confirmed within the pages of Isis issue number 7 by the year 1977.
Here's a funny book. Read.
Isis possesses a vast range of superpowers that are often summoned by way of speaking a rhyming couplet aloud. Among her various abilities are those of super strength, levitation of everything from rubber tires to mountain climbing ropes to out-of-control automobiles, and to utilize the jewel upon her brow so she can look into the recent past.
Time, turn back, and in your flight, let me see what is gone from sight. Red hair, black leather jacket, yellow mini bike. Wish I could see where he went.
Isis controls all the elements of nature itself, such as the rocks or trees of the earth, pushes precariously positioned automobiles back to safety with the power of the wind, harnesses the power of lightning to jumpstart dead car batteries, or the power of the sun to create fires, and commands the large water flow released from a hydroelectric dam to halt. On occasion, Isis has even halted time itself.
Time, the ruler of day, freeze this moment and make it stay.
Yet by the second season, along with a funky new perm, Isis could even be seen reversing time. If it was so easy and without consequence, one wonders why she didn't do this every time she broke a chemistry beaker in class. Oh wait.
Oh, time turn back and thus restore these broken beakers on the floor. Rick, take care of that.
Perhaps, in what one might label a precursor to crow vision, Isis could see through the eyes of her pet raven called Tut. Also slightly similar to the X-Men's own Shadowcat, Isis could in one instance cause a car to phase unharmed through a road grader.
The road is blocked. I've got to help them. Look out! We're gonna hit it! Molecules by which we're bound separate. Let space be found.
Another X-Man the mighty Isis shares common abilities with is Storm, as they both can control the weather, which gives them the power of flight as well.
Oh, zephyr winds which blow on high, lift me now so I can fly.
In a way, Isis is a female version of Captain Marvel. Just as Captain Marvel is granted his abilities from the combined powers of the Greek gods, Andrea Thomas similarly derives her abilities from the Egyptian goddess Isis. Captain Marvel and Isis would form a lasting partnership by teaming up on her show as well as his own throughout the duration of the run of the Shazam Isis Hour until 1977.
Tut, get Isis. I need Isis, Tut.
Me too, little buddy. Me too.
Andrea Thomas's supporting cast was made up of her fellow teacher and sometime government agent Rick Mason, played by Brian Cutler, and student Cindy Lee, played by Joanna Pang, as well as her eventual replacement Rennie Carroll, portrayed by Ronalda Douglas. Andrea's friends would usually lend a helping hand as she would encounter a bunch of kids, teens, or young adults who had never seen an after-school special in their entire lives, or at least didn't bother to pay any attention to it. Cindy Lee usually gets into some precarious situation by getting talked into doing something stupid, and Isis has to bail her out. Aside from Isis's guest appearances on her Big Brother's show Shazam, the Filmation Isis character would also go on to appear in animated form as a member of the superhero team Freedom Force, and also, like Captain Marvel, served as a mentor to the crazy teen superhero students over at Hero High.
Miss Grimm will be out of town for a few days. Luckily, we were able to get a substitute. I want you to meet your new teacher, Isis.
Good morning, class.
Wow!
A couple of years following the finale of Isis, the exceptionally beautiful and lovely Joanna Cameron goes on to guest star as Gail Hoffman on an episode of The Amazing Spider-Man titled The Deadly Dust in 1978.
I thought I kept this a secret. How did you find out?
Oh, there aren't many things in this school that I don't know about.
Also, keen-eyed science fiction fans of the original television series V may recognize Evan Kim as one of the teen super sleuths CJ Howe in the two-part episode Now You See It, Now You Don't. An animated version of Kim, known as Mercury, would fight alongside Hercules as a member of Filmation's Space Sentinels. Of course, he would later go on to play the Korean resistance fighter, who was Mike Donovan's best friend, Tony, in Kenneth Johnson's V, the original miniseries.
Really know how to use that thing? Sort of winging it. Well, this thing controls the intensity, I think. How strong a jolt it shoots. Then you prime it over here. Come with extra batteries? They're rechargeable, I think. Clever, those Japanese. Look out. So how are we gonna handle him? How about the direct approach?
Excuse me. Hello. Look, I'm really sorry to bother you like this, but I'm on my way to Korea and my shrimp boat, it gets a flat tire. So I really need an inner tube and...
Science fiction fans may also recognize Lorette Sprang as Anne, the cheating cheerleader, who would go on to play the socializer with a heart of gold, Cassiopeia, in the original Battlestar Galactica.
That's funny. That's exactly what Isis said. Yeah, they sure seem to think alike.
There is also a 2002 one-shot comic book that Image Comics published called The Legend of Isis, which has little to do with the DC Comics version or even the television series. Sort of like a female Buck Rogers, Isis is a warrior transported from ancient Egypt into the 21st century only by a magical spell instead of by suspended animation. Isis is flung 5,000 years into the future by the evil Set and her own sister Nephtides, who is her rival for the affections of Osiris. Upon arriving in the modern day, Isis befriends Los Angeles police detective Scott Dean, who gives her the civilian identity of one Jessica Eisen. Instead of a magical amulet, the Image Comics version of Isis uses a staff of Luxor as her primary weapon of choice, and as opposed to the Filmation super team Freedom Force, she became a member of the Image group calling themselves the Odyssey. By 2005, The Legend of Isis became a monthly ongoing series from Alias Enterprises, and a couple of years later would change publishers yet again to that of Blue Water Comics.
And from the look on your face, I guess that you have something to tell me.
Do I ever? It was fantastic. Isis was there and you should have seen her. You know something? How come you're never around when Isis is there?
Beats me. Seems as if you and Rick are always having all the fun.
In 2006, a revision of the Isis character, who instead goes by the name Adriana Tomas, would appear in the weekly DC Comics series 52. In this iteration of the character, not only is Osiris her kid brother, but she was much more closely connected to Captain Marvel's longtime enemy and rival, Black Adam. Together, they share a star-crossed romance that's destiny could only end in tragedy.
Hi, girls. What's so serious?
Why so serious?
In early 2011, Lois Lane becomes possessed by the spirit of the Egyptian goddess Isis on the television series Smallville. In this season 10 episode, self-titled as Isis, a much more nefarious interpretation of the character sets out to resurrect her long-lost lover Osiris. His release will unleash hell on Earth, but all she cares about is being reunited with her old flame. Clark nearly becomes Osiris's vessel, but he uses his heat vision on the magical amulet in order to release Lois from the spell of Isis's possession.
This vessel might have once been called Lois, but now it serves Isis.
The Secrets of Isis shares a lot in common with its big brother Shazam. There are no real supervillains to speak of, and instead you got robbers, thugs, or even guys in cheap gorilla and bear suits who are meant to come across as the real thing. The DC comic book series, however, did show Isis fending off creatures from other dimensions, alien warlords named after the Egyptian sun god Aten, and eventually facing off against her arch nemesis, the god of darkness and chaos, Set.
Ridiculous, isn't it?
Well, I can't blame you if you'd rather face an eagle than my blazing serve.
Just like there was an abrupt casting change with Captain Marvel from Bostwick to Davy on Shazam, Joanna Pang's Cindy Lee would similarly be replaced by Renalda Douglas's Rennie Carroll by the second season. Also, where Billy could be bound and gagged to prevent his transformation into Captain Marvel, Andrea too, when separated from her magical amulet, could be prevented from turning into the goddess Isis.
I think I lost something. Must have happened when I fell.
This criticism might sound odd given the parallels between the two series, but Isis tends to be played a bit more straight than Captain Marvel. Michael Gray and Les Tremayne had some great comedic chemistry together on top of all the unintentional hilarity.
There once was a man from Detroit.
Detroit, who at quoits was extremely adroit.
So one day he tore.
The pants that he wore. Whew, just in time.
So instead he played in a squate.
Skite? That's S-K-I-R-T. It's pronounced skirt.
Not if you're from Brooklyn.
Well, you don't come from Brooklyn.
Well, if I did come from Brooklyn, that's how you pronounce it. So we're even. Oh, no.
An actor may have been terrible on Shazam or had some really cheeseball lines, but at least you could laugh at them with a sense of amusement. Here on The Secrets of ISIS, when the acting is bad, it's just plain bad.
ISIS, please hurry.
The only thing that the main cast really has going for it is that the lead actress is a stunning-looking woman, and frankly, that is it. I've also got to mention that Andrea Thomas has a really awesome sports car for being on a teacher's salary circa 1975. Ultimately, though, there's not a great deal of chemistry between Andrea Thomas, Rick Mason, and the teacher's aide/teacher's pet, or whatever Cindy Lee and Rennie Carroll were supposed to be.
Are you being funny, Rennie?
Oh, no.
The three are trapped in a school setting most of the time, and there's really no opportunity to switch up like Billy and Mentor had when traveling across the American countryside. If the cast of ISIS is lucky enough to go to a different setting, it's just under the auspices of a school field trip anyway.
Thanks for bailing me out.
Also, it seems that while I sometimes praise Filmation for having their heart in the right place most of the time with their social messages and moral life lessons, after seeing all the kids on this show waste second and even third chances that ISIS provides them with, I'm tempted to pin the creation of a bailout mentality with a consequence-free mindset on the studio as well. I mean, why be responsible for your mistakes if you know that ISIS can just turn back time to bail you out? Anyway, if you grew up with the show or you think Joanna Cameron is gorgeous like me, the show is still worth a look, but otherwise you may want to give this one a pass.
Well, until he complains, I'm going to enjoy it. Yeah, let's go.
Start the music and the lights, make sure everything's that's right, because we're going to that magic wonderland. Now you see it, now you don't. Some people believe and some just won't, because there's magic, ooh, wherever you are. You gotta believe, you know there's magic in the air. You gotta believe, there's magic everywhere. You gotta believe in the power that it brings. You gotta believe that you can do most anything.
I could never understand how the eye could miss your hand, so you better watch as closely as you can.
Now you see it, now you don't. Some people believe and some just won't, 'cause there's magic, ooh, wherever you are.
Henry, you should have been there.
Shh. You gotta believe.
I mean, 12 ISISes suddenly appeared.
Shh.
12 ISISes? Come on, Rick. You don't expect me to believe that.
You gotta believe that you can do most anything. You gotta believe in the magic in the air. You gotta believe there's magic everywhere. You gotta believe in the power that it brings. You gotta believe that you can do most anything.
You gotta believe.
Tut, get ISIS. I need ISIS, Tut.
Me too, little buddy. Me too.